Hello, everybody. I thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen to me talk. I just wanted to jump on impromptu, not scheduled or anything like I normally do, to just talk about my decision to step away for some self care because I've been getting so many messages and so many people talking to me about it, just reaching out to me about my decision to step away. And I'm going to move this sweater really quick. It's kind of distracting me. Um, and just what's like happening, and I'm not stepping away the way I say it, but I'm taking a 2 week break, and it's just an impromptu. I decided we close childcare business professionals every year for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And that's just to give my entire staff a break and an ability to stay with their own families, to be and to really enjoy the holiday. But this time, I'm really feeling called to take even more time off. So I'm actually starting Thursday, and I'm going to be going through until January 8th. I'll be gone. So it's about 2.5 weeks altogether that I'm just going to just kind of go dark. And one of the decisions I made is that I won't go on social media at all. I'm going to be completely disconnected from social media. And that is what I'm getting the most questions about. Why am I disconnecting from social media and basically all things that I input into my brain for 2.5 weeks? I will not be listening to podcasts, reading books, and nothing. And the main reason and my motivation is really to just let my brain rest and to hear my own thoughts. A few years ago, I was really struggling to focus, to get work done, and really, really struggling to just function basically and do my basic job. I knew something was wrong with me. I didn't know what was going on, but I would just sit down to work and I would stare at blank screens and I would have these due dates and I was dropping the ball and it was difficult. So at the time, I did talk to my therapist. This was shortly after my husband died, and I talked to her about it. And I also talked to my neurologist who works with me on my narcolepsy and did some brain scans. And it turned out that I have a brain injury. And the brain injury was actually trauma induced. So for many of you, you probably don't even know that trauma and prolonged stress, prolonged cortisol levels actually change the function of your brain. It changes the makeup and the size. So what happened to me is like my frontal lobe here, which is your processing part of your brain that helps you to think and focus, that shrank. And my amygdala over here was actually enlarged. Now, your amygdala, I like to call your caveman brain. That's when you go into fight or flight. And during the 3 to 4 years that my husband was terminally ill and sick, and I was his nurse, I had no choice but to live in my amygdala. It was a constant fight or flight, right? I was like, there was just, I get PTSD from thinking about it. But I cannot tell you how many nights I'd wake up in the middle of the night and have to rush him to the hospital or have to call an ambulance. How many times I would walk into our bedroom and not know if he was breathing, to be honest. And I know that's a lot, but it was a life I lived for about 3.5 years, where it was that constant run, while I was trying to run two businesses. I'm dealing with all that behind the scenes in my life, and I'm still trying to show up as a business owner. It was hard, and it definitely took a toll on my brain. Well, that first year coming out, the prescription I got was very unique. I was actually prescribed to take a week off for every month, a full week for every month. And what my doctor and my therapist had actually explained to me is that because of this brain injury that I had, I literally had to give my brain time to recover and to recuperate, and it needed to heal. And I think my therapist explained it to me the best, where she said to me one day, she said, Evelyn, if you were training for a marathon and your legs were experiencing atrophy, you would not force them to get up and keep running. You would not beat yourself up mentally because you couldn't get up and keep running if you were experiencing muscular atrophy in your brain. And she said, that is exactly what you're experiencing, or I'm sorry, in your legs. She said, that is exactly what your brain is experiencing. She said, for the last almost 4 years, your brain has been running a marathon, not knowing if your husband was going to live or die, not knowing the stress of all the surgeries and the hospital stays and the dialysis. She said, your brain is exhausted and it's time to stop. So that was very hard for me. Very, very hard. So for those of you who ask me, like, how do you do this? I have a lot of experience. I just didn't wake up one day and I'm able to do this. I have to say the first few months were hard and I really struggled, and I probably didn't always do what I was supposed to do. But by the end of that year, I really was taking that time off, right? And it did get to the point that Brandy, my assistant at the time, who's now my director, she got to the point where she was taking my laptop from me. She would literally come to my house, confiscate it, and keep it with her to force me into the position where I had to rest. But I can tell you, what I learned was, oh my gosh, did my brain need it? It was night and day. When I took that time off, I was more productive working 3 weeks in a month than I was working that 4 weeks. Because when I allowed my brain to rest, now it was fully functioning. Now I could really be where I am. Now, I also want to say, I know this is really hard. Some of you want to take time off like this, right? I've seen so many Facebook posts lately, like, how do I do it? I want to be with my family. I want to be present, but I don't know how. Yes, you don't, because it's an addiction. And this is something I had to live that year and understand. And I'm not going to say it's still not easy for me. It is not easy, because I do know my brain, I'm addicted. We all are, but I understand that now. So now I understand that I have to take steps to control that addiction, right? That need to reach for your phone and look at social media, that those impulses we get, that's an addiction. Your addiction, and I've read so many people saying, I just can't stop my brain. It just won't stop. It won't until you make it. It won't, because your brain is addicted, right? But what I really want people to understand, and the reason I'm making this public and telling everybody what I'm doing and why, is I just know from personal experience that even if you're not feeling like you're in a place of trauma like I was, you're still in a place of this prolonged cortisol. Running a business is stressful. And I understand that when I talk about my experience with my husband, that's like here, right? And you think like, well, yeah, your husband died. That's one thing. Do not minimize what you're going through, what you put your brain through, just because it isn't as traumatic on the surface. A lot of what you do running a business is traumatic. It is not easy. A lot of what you do raising a child, a lot of just our day-to-day life is traumatic, and our brains need the rest. If you're feeling just that, like, I'm just not efficient, I can sit at my desk and I can't concentrate, I can't get things done, I just can't stop, you might be experiencing the same type of issue. And disconnecting is the way to go. And it is hard. It is. But I challenge you, especially during this holiday season, put your phone away. If you have to uninstall your social media apps, uninstall them for a few days. Disconnect and understand that this is absolutely an addiction. Social media, all of this is an addiction that is exhausting us. So that's why I am completely disconnecting, so I can hear my own thoughts, so I can let my brain rest, so I can just recharge and really renew what I am thinking. And that's what makes me a thought leader. I see so many people, and I kind of joke about it because I'll put content out, and then about 6 months to a year later, I see all these coaches behind me literally putting all the same exact content. And the reason I can be a thought leader is because I do give myself these moments where I disconnect from what everyone else is thinking. I disconnect from the world and I form my own thoughts. And that's why when I get to this point where I just know in my bones, it's time now. I have to disconnect. I need the rest. That's why I do this and why I do what I do and why I will, on the drop of a dime, make this decision to step away. And so I encourage you guys to just think about this. And maybe you need to schedule something in advance. I know not a lot of people have set up their companies or their life in a way where you can just decide, okay, guys, next week I'm not going to work. I mean, I've set my life up for that, right? And I can teach you how to do it too, especially if you're a child care center owner or a director. That's what my company does. We can teach you how to get your company to that point where you can decide, I'm tired, I'm taking next week off. It's possible. I promise. I've done it for several child care centers. And even if you're not a child care center, business is business. You can do it. Business is business. Your company will survive without you. And if it can't, then you need to fix it. I'm not sugarcoating that one. You need to fix it if it can't. So I really hope that resonates with somebody. I really hope that's helpful. I know there's so many of you out there feeling it. I've gotten so many of your messages, and just let me know how I can help. I am online until Thursday. I think it's 2 p.m. that I'm signing off, and I'll be gone. So if you need to get a hold of me, get a hold of me before that. Have a wonderful Christmas, everybody. I hope you have an amazing holiday season. Bye.